Hello and welcome to Apocalyptic Knitter. This is episode 2. For those who haven't joined before, my name's Naomi and I come to you from West Yorkshire, where I live with my husband, my young son and my little pussycat. If it's your first time here, welcome. This podcast is majority about 90% knitting talk, and I also expand a little bit about my love of all things apocalypse films, quirky little budgeting tips that I do, just a bit of everything really. So if this seems your cup of tea, great, stick along. For those of you who are returning viewers, thank you so much for your support and feedback from last week's first episode. It was really good to see, so thank you, and hope you stay tuned for this one as well. So today is, yes, I've had to write down what day it is, that's how this week's going. Today is Sunday the 16th of July. And what I didn't do last week, because I wasn't wearing any hand knits, is I didn't do a what I'm wearing. And today I'm wearing a knitted jumper. So, there we go. You can have a little bit of a twirl. So this one I've made about 3-4 years ago. It keeps really well. I do wear it quite a lot. I tend to wear it with just like a plain long sleeve black v-neck, wear it with smart trousers for work, wear it with jeans, really versatile, absolutely love it. The pattern is called the Exposure Top. I think the designer, I believe, is Julian Paris, something like that. And the yarn, the pink yarn, is by Hummingbird Yarns, who isn't Hummingbird Yarns anymore. She's now located to France, and her Instagram is Mealrev Online. So there we go. Anyway, digressing. So it was part of the, close your ears kids, the Tits Out Collective, which was like a bit of a movement in the knitting community a few years ago, which was formed, I think that's the right word, by Countessa Blaze, where lots and lots of knitting dyers kind of sold an awful lot of skeins, where like a percentage kind of went to a lot of the, I think, women in refuge charities and possibly other ones as well, but it was a really good movement to support. The contrast, you can kind of see like a very dark grey, is by Rusty Ferret Yarns, and it's a really good base called the Static Base. It's like a high twist 4-ply merino, and the colourway is charcoal. So I got a skein of that purely for this jumper. I think I used 2 skeins of this colour and about 3/4 of the skein of the grey. So I'm quite a tall strapping lass, as I say. So I think it was quite easy on the stash really. So yeah, I do have plans, in my future to make another one, but I'm not quite decided on the colour that I want to do yet. But yeah. So I have a couple of finished objects for you. Well, I have done a second sock, but I thought I grabbed it for the podcast and I just grabbed one, but I'll have to have a look. I think it's in my baskets there. This was what I showed you last week, where I'd almost finished it. I was just on the last few rows of the cuff. The main colour is Peacock by Sable Yarns, and then I use this lovely, absolutely gorgeous colour from Dina's House of Crafts, I think. Dina's House of Yarns, yeah. My default recipe to go for is I tend to do toe up, and I've done it on 2.25 needles. I'm really got into the Lykke needles, Lykke, Lykke. When I do toe up, my default heel is the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then I do a 2x2 rib to finish off. I do tend to get a little bit bored when it comes to the cuff, and I have to really persevere with my focus, because I'll just wanna, because I'm so close to the end, sometimes I'm a bit scrimpy and I'll just do 11 rows as a minimum, but I am trying to just push forward and just get that extra 5 or 10 rows just to kind of give it a bit more oomph. So they are done and the ends are woven in. I know, nobody was more impressed than myself. I have another finished object, but yeah, not woven in the ends of these. Now, I do have a little bit of a story to tell on this one, because I posted it on my Instagram account about that I lost at Yarn Chicken. And the dyer messaged me going, oh no. But to be honest with you, I take full responsibility, because I did not read the contents of the kit properly. So there's a lesson to be learned there. In my head, because I got this sock tube and it's basically a full 50 gram skein all knitted up on the sock machine. And then what you do, the sock machine, the loom machine, and then what you do is you get that, so you've like maximised that piece of material, and then you cut it in half. Well, obviously secure it on a needle first and cut it in half, separate, so you've got 2 socks, and then you add on the sock, you add on the toe, add on the cuff, and then put an afterthought heel in. And in the kit also comes with a contrasting mini skein. Like, in my head, I thought, oh fab, 20 grams. Now usually it'll take me about 10-12 grams of contrast to do the toe, heel and cuff. So I thought, oh yeah, I got loads here. I didn't realise it was 10 grams. However, I didn't, if I'd followed it exactly, I wouldn't have run out. But I went a little bit off piste, and I'll tell you why. So I started off doing the toes, did those fine, and then I didn't go crazy on the cuffs. Probably about 10, 11, 12 rows. Now I followed a YouTube tutorial to see how they did the afterthought heel, because I've not done one for a few years and I just wanted a bit of a recap. Now the lady on there, she said that her, and this is like her preference, you don't have to do it, but her preference was that when she picks up and snips the live stitches to pick up the heel, she likes to do 4 rounds, or 4 halves, 2 full rounds first straight before she starts the decreases. And I thought, that seems a jolly good idea, I'll do the same. And that's what made me run out, because as you can see, it's literally just that last little bit that I went out on. But the recipient who I'm making for isn't bothered at that time. We were having a laugh, having a joke about it, and I got as nearest as I could. And this little remnant here, I had to look at my stash to see what I could get close to match it, and this is actually a teeny bit of a Minecraft colourway from Gemma Snuggly Stars, and I made the recipient's son a pair of these Minecraft socks as well, so it's got quite a nice little touch to it. Anyway, these are really nice. I really like that colour, and I really like the choice of contrast that she put in. So thank you very much. The dye, if I don't know if I've mentioned, is Ducky Darling. So thank you so much for these, Hayley. I love them. So these are going to go to the recipient. I'm seeing them in weekend after next, so don't have to worry about that deadline. And these deadlines are all in my head. I know. So that was my finished objects. I'm going to say if you're wondering, because I didn't know this as well, and do you know what, it probably was written on the kit pack, but I'm terrible. I open up the wrapper and go, oh, let's have a look, and then the wrapper goes in the bin, and that's just me all over. The stitch count that comes on is 72 stitches, so 36 each side, in case you were wondering. Right, just gonna have a quick slurp of a cup of tea. Sorry. Good old Tetley's, if you're wondering. Next I'm gonna go on my whips, my work in progresses. First up is the secret test knit that I can't show you. What do we want to show you? So I'm doing a test knit for the lovely Ellie at Curio Stitches, and it is a 4-ply sweater. I think I'm allowed to say that. Working my way through the yoke, it does take a little bit of concentration for me, and I had a really mentally intense week last week where I was just a bit brain broken, and I didn't want to risk working on it and making mistakes, so I just kind of kept it with some easy knitting. I've done a bit more on it this afternoon, and I'll probably do a little bit more on it this evening because my head's starting to clear, thankfully. I did have a look on my, I do have a spreadsheet for all my stash. You're not surprised, are you? No. And I have 700 grams of these, so actually 14, which is good because I thought I only had 10 or 500 grams. These are 500 gram balls of a bit of a vintage King Cole anti-tickle wool. If you want to know the story about it, have a look on episode 1, let's see where I got this one from. I also on my spreadsheet like to jot down when I bought it, because if I've had something for 6 years and I go to use it, I find it quite satisfying. So I am about, I'd say I'm about 2/3 of the way through the yoke, and once that's done, I think it'll speed up for me. So there we go. Next up is another pair of socks that I'm working on. These are, thought it was anti-tickle wool, why is my nose itching? These are West Yorkshire Spinner. Well, they're like a self-striping. They're really, I really like them. Really like them. They have a pattern that's kind of built in with them to give like a bit of Fair Isle effect. And this is the Wood Pigeon colourway. I didn't put the heels in at first because I was on the approach and not quite at the point of heel, and then I got dragged to the cinema at short notice. So I decided to just knit in the cinema all the way through and do an afterthought heel. So that's where I am with those. They are done, they just need the heels putting in. These ones I did 64 stitch count on 2.25 needles. Oh no, tell a lie, 2.5. And these are on my Leica needles. They're like that really nice smooth wood. So yeah, got my contrast ready. If I think on, I'm gonna get the heel snipped and prepared ready for my commute knitting starting from tomorrow. I do like doing socks on the train, as we've said before, because they're nice and small, and if you've on a cramped train, you're not doing that to the passenger. So that's that one. Oh, my Aran sweater. So last time I showed you that I'd done the back, done the front, and I was about 1/3 of the way up the first sleeve. We have the first sleeve done. So that was, it wasn't as a mammoth and knit as the back and the front, so that's quite good. I feel like I'm on the home stretch now. I also spoke last time about how I wasn't sure if it was going to be a bit of a yarn chicken. I mean, I say yarn chicken, it's done in woolly knits, so there isn't that kind of same like knitter's anxiety of, oh, is it going to be, am I going to get the wool again, is it going to be the same dye lot and all that kind of thing, because they're quite commercial, so that's fine. The sleeve took, I think, just under or thereabouts 2 balls of yarn. I started with a half ball and I didn't weigh it. But I've got 3 full balls and half of one left. So that should be, if I have 2 balls for the other sleeve, that leaves me with about a ball and a half to do the neckband. So I'm looking at the pattern. It's only quite a thin one there, really. As I say, this is quite a vintage pattern. I tried to see what the pattern was actually called or who did it, to see if it was like loaded onto Ravelry or something, but it doesn't. Just says ivory knit with textured stitches. So there we go. It doesn't say that it's sponsored by anybody, but yeah, quite enjoyable. That's so far. I've not cast it on yet because I want to give the test knit. I want to kind of get up to the yoke first before I start on that. So that's that. So that's my Aaron sweater. So I think that's all that I've kind of, they're the projects I've been working on this week. And I cast something new on. So I do have a little list of things to do, like a wish list, but it's kind of things, some stuff is for me. I do a lot of gift knitting for other people, but as I say, only if they want it. I don't kind of thrust it on them or anything. And I'm making a cowl for a member of the family who lives down in Devon. Now I've knit the volcano trail cowl before, and I really enjoyed that. But you know, when you do another pattern the same and you're thinking, am I just going to be a bit bored with it? Do I do something new? And then I had a look in my library on Ravelry, and I realised that I'd downloaded into the queue the Litmus cowl pattern. This is by Jude Harper of Stranded Dye Works. It's a really popular pattern, and I thought I'll give it a go. So I had a look at what it called for, and it called for 3.5mm needles, and I had this really random evening, because for me, if I can't get the pattern, the needles and the yarn all gathered together quickly, it can just fester for ages. Is anyone else like that? And I looked at my first bag of stuff in there, and I found 3.5mm needles. I thought, oh, grab them. Got the pattern, got that. And then I thought, what yarn shall I use? And I was chatting on a group, and somebody said about, I don't even know if it was in the group or not, there was like they were talking about it goes well with like a silky one, and I thought, I'm sure I've got like a grey silky skein somewhere, and I do. So I thought I'm going to use that as the main colourway, and what you do is you kind of have the main grey, and then you use some oddments. So if you've got like an advent calendar that you want to use up, and it just kind of stripes into a great big loop. It's curling everywhere at the minute. This one is the first oddment that I've used. One of my absolute favourite colourways, by Rusty Ferret Yarns. And what I've done is I've got all kinds of different pinks, going from all different to a bit lighter to a bit darker. It's got a bit more black in, but it's still got pink pops in. And I know that's not pink, that's purple, but do you know what I mean? It's got like a little, like, kind of doing my own little gradient really. So yes, so the yarn that I'm using, the grey, it's got here that it's superbly silky 4-ply. So I'm reading the thing. So that was Hummingbird Yarns when she was Hummingbird Yarns. And it's 50% South American merino wool and 50% tencel. And it's slightly less of the yardage, it's 364 yards, because I know normal merino is about 420, but this is 364. But I checked the spreadsheet, as you do, and I do actually have a second skein of it, so we're gonna crack on. So I started this Friday night, Saturday. I think this is small enough to aid for commute knitting. It's just like a bit of a bigger sock tube really, isn't it? So I'm going to take that with me on the train. Ideally, my self-imposed deadline of this is the 5th of August. 4th of August, the recipient who I'm making it for lives down in Devon, and we're going to go and visit them, round about them. I know it's not the end of the world if I don't get it finished, it's just my little focus pop. The second one, I haven't cast it on, I've just kind of, I always like to have socks on the go. I always like to kind of know what I'm doing after I've finished that pair. So I've grabbed some yarn together of stuff that I want to make for me. And I just put it in the bag, but I'm going to focus on the cowl. That's going to be my knit to, but I thought if I ever kind of get caught short or whatever, I want to cast on a pair of socks. Cast these on. This is the charcoal colourway high twist in static rusty ferret, which is the remnants of this, what I'm wearing here. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to use that as the contrast for the toes and heels and cuffs. And then this is, I got it in a D-stash, I believe, from Rachel at This Knitty Life. And I think she said it was Easy Knits, and it's like a sparkle rainbow self-striping. So I'm getting over this, it's a lot better, but I'm getting over this migraine, and I've not had a headache with it. I just find that I can't seem to string a sentence together, so I'm not drunk, I promise you. So I've got my needles ready in the bag as well. I found some needles. I think these are the slightly bigger ones, which is 2.5 high-highers. So I thought, right, I'm going to shove them in the bag ready. And then that's that. When I spoke last week and I kind of showed all the different blankets that I've got on the go as well, those blankets I'm picking up in the autumn, once I've got all the jumpers that I'm working on this summer, which is quite a lot. I want to pick up my blankets. There's another one that I didn't show you. And when I was tidying up today, and I looked in we have like a footstool thing that's a container, lift it off. And I was like, oh yeah, there's another knitting project in there. This, I got an advent calendar from Spectrum Fibre last winter. Oh my god. And this, I don't know if you can see, is like a triangle, or what they call a quadrant. And this pattern is the Quadrophenia blanket from Bakery Bears, and I absolutely love it. It is a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give too much away on it. but you can basically use up all your, so the advent calendar that I got was 20 grams, and I actually read it this time. It was 20 grams, and you can just knit and knit and knit until it's finished, and then next thing, and so you don't get the leftover little bits. So I've got in this bag, these aren't just the ones I got from the advent calendar, these are other pastel-y light colours that I think would kind of go with the one that I've got. I don't know if I could put all them. So I've kind of picked all those out ready for when the time comes, and I'll be able to work out, I kind of want to do the 4 triangles, and I can't decide if I want to make the triangles bigger or if I just want to pick up and then knit around it, but we shall see. More on that in the winter when I come to work on it again, because it is in a little bit regretful hibernation, and that blanket is going to be for me. I've got first dibs on that one, I'm afraid. The other blanket idea, I've not started it, but it's in the pipeline for this winter, is for my young son, who's always pinching the blanket from the sofa that we have. So I said I'm going to make him his own. I don't want one. I don't need one, I'm alright. Well, you do need one because you keep pinching mine. So I've got together a load of colours that he likes. And somebody, one of the knitting pals, recommended a pattern, I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's the Great Mild Garter Stitch Blanket. I believe it's on the Hedgehog Fibres Instagram account. If you're going to go through there, there's a link to their website, where I think you hold four strands of sock yarn together on big chunky needles and just use up all your odds and ends, which that sounds amazing. Because I get these ideas for all these 4-ply sock blankets and then moan that they take too long. So if you're holding 4 together, it's just going to chomp through, isn't it? So that's in the pipeline as well. And I think that comes to the end of my knitting section. The next section I want to talk about is, it's kind of personal to me, so obviously I'm not going to give away details, but I kind of wanted to kind of share with you like my journey, my plans, what I'm going to do on, because I think this kind of is going to affect quite a lot of people, and I'm a big believer in whatever bit of, you know, help, support we can give each other, that makes the world a bigger place, better place. See what I mean? The words aren't coming right today. I'm going to talk about budgeting. So I know I mentioned I'm a bit tongue-in-cheek with the old apocalyptic love and everything, and as I say, I don't think the world's going to end tomorrow. I'm not a doomsayer and that kind of thing. But like what I say, my tongue-in-cheek, our modern day, you know, crisis that we have is the whole cost of living, the whole everything's going up, and then we've got all this mortgage crisis, interest rates hiking up, and yeah, that's going to affect us as a household together, and it's bloody scary. And what I don't want to do is have this countdown to when we remortgage of being super stressed out about it, because when I'm stressed, I spend money. I will hold my hands up. I am not great with money. I'll pay my bills, I'll do all that kind of thing, but the money that's left over, I need to have a strong word of myself, and that's where I'm at now. I met my lovely friend, we've been friends for many years, and she has, I know I was going to say her name then, but I thought I'm not saying her name. She has a YouTube channel called She Can Budget, and we met for a cup of tea a couple of weeks ago and just putting the world to rights, all about everything, and she was telling me about what she does. And I think this is going to change my financial life, to be honest with you. If this is something that you want to look into, great. Have a look at a few of the episodes of the channel. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but if anything can just help you take the anxiety out of what's coming, what's going on, do you know what's the harm? So what it is in a nutshell is kind of taking away, when you do your payday plans or whatever, you take away your standard, your mandatory direct debits out of it. And then what we're talking about is how you manage the money that's left over. And don't, like me, squander it all. But kind of break down and see what things you got coming up, and it's just little things to me, like if you want to just do £2 a week, £5 a week to this little pot, if you're saving up for school uniform, if you've got a holiday coming up next year, you want to start building up a pot of savings. Or like for me, the big thing that I'm looking on is I want to build up a bit of a pot, because I don't know what my mortgage payment's going to increase by, and I want to take that anxiety out of it and just start building up a little bit of, what do they call it? Is it called a sinking fund? That might be what it's called. And just kind of have something, whereas if you kind of say to yourself, in 1 year's time we need X amount, it's bloody scary. You're thinking, I'm not going to be able to do that. But I thought if you just break it all down and you know that you're doing something about it, if that helps you, fantastic. And there's lots of little games that you can play, like little bingo, not bingo scratch cards, but like denominations of the money that you'll have on the card, and kind of like stamp it off. And I thought, oh my god, that sounds so much fun. And you know what, if we can turn a serious topic into something that's a bit more light-hearted, heck, we need that in this day and age, don't we? So there you go, that's what I'm starting that on this Friday. When I get paid, I'm going to say, right, this is how I'm going to do it. So there we go. So yes, her channel is called She Can Budget. I also follow somebody quite similar on Instagram as well, my frugal year. And I think sometimes when you have on your algorithms those kind of channels, it just kind of gives you that little bit of like awareness of it and stuff like that, and knowing that other people are having that same kind of issues and concerns as you. So there we go. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too boring. Apocalyptic films, what have I been watching the last week? I watched a bit of a golden oldie a couple of nights ago, because as I say, my head just wanted something light and fluffy, and why not watch something light and fluffy like an end of the world programme? So there you go. So I watched Deep Impact, which was filmed in the 90s. I remember it, and so I really enjoyed watching that again. So I watched that. And last night, I don't know if anyone's a fan of it, have you ever watched Bird Box? Well, did you know that Bird Box 2, or Bird Box Barcelona, is out now on Netflix? Yes, so I watched that last night. It was a slightly different spin on what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like part 2 with Sandra Bullock, and it went in a slightly different way. But that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, because I did enjoy it. It was really good. So if you want to watch that, or if you have any recommendations of any other films, let me know. What am I watching? I've saved something on the telly, on Sky I think it was. I've not watched it yet, called The Ark. Not watched it yet, so I might watch that tonight. Anyway, I think that's about it from me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye for now.